All right, folks, here at Pondering Politics, in addition to encouraging Democrats to be more politically ruthless, in addition to pointing out the many, many faults of the Republican Party, we are also the unofficial fan club of Jessica Tarlov, the liberal/progressive co-host and commentator on the Fox Propaganda Network, the one voice of sanity on that network who sticks it to her hyper-partisan conservative hack co-hosts. And we've covered her in many videos because she does an amazing job despite being outnumbered in enemy territory. And we have yet another example of her kicking butt. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. So we usually see Jessica Tarlov on the 5, which I have said we should just rename 4 to 1, okay? She is up against Greg Gutfeld, Jesse Waters, Jeanine Pirro, and Dana Perino. And even Perino, who is the sanest of the other 4, I think she used to work for President Bush in the Bush White House as like a press secretary, so she is a conservative Republican as well. So Jessica Tarlov is outnumbered, and despite that, she more than holds her own, which is incredible. That's where we usually see her. But now she made a guest appearance on a different Fox program called, appropriately enough, Outnumbered, in which, again, she is up against 4 or 5 other Republican/conservative commentators. She is just outgunned and outnumbered in ways that you don't even see on CNN. Even CNN stacks the decks in ways that are more comparable, usually a 1-to-1 situation between conservatives and progressives. And of course, the subject is, again, Hunter Biden, because Republicans won't let it go. They know they can't compete on policy. They know economic and social policy Democrats are just objectively better on the data. And if you don't like it, nobody cares. The facts don't care about your feelings. It's simply true. And so Republicans know that. And they're like, oh, my God. Well, we've got Hunter Biden, so we'll just continue to milk that for whatever it's worth. So here's a situation in which they're talking about Peter Doocy, a Fox News correspondent, son of Steve Doocy, who is, I think, on Fox and Friends, right? So he's part of like a Fox News dynasty. And Peter Doocy was the foil of Jen Psaki, President Biden's former White House press secretary. They would spar all the time. And there's a love-hate relationship between Doocy and President Biden himself. They have had public heat exchanges, mostly President Biden being sassy, which is funny. But they had a recent exchange, and this is the subject of Jessica Tarlov's appearance, and it relates to Hunter Biden, so we will watch it and break it down.
There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them, talking business. Is that what?
I never talk business with anybody. And I know you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, so again, why is it a lousy question? Let's be very clear. Devon Archer, who is Hunter Biden's former business associate, another member of the Ukrainian energy company Burisma's board, just like Hunter Biden, somebody who knows President Biden and Hunter Biden very, very well. He was the star witness of the Republican Party's latest Biden-related family witch hunt, and it imploded in their faces because repeatedly Devon Archer said, listen, to my knowledge, I never heard Joe Biden and Hunter Biden talk business or talk about business. That was emphatically said repeatedly. So why did President Biden react the way he did? Because he was right. Peter Doocy lied. There was a false premise to the question. Hey, Devon Archer said repeatedly that you would talk business with Hunter Biden. No. Devon Archer emphatically says the opposite. Now, Hunter Biden did put his father on speakerphone at times, 2 times per year over a span of 10 years, 20 times total, according to Devon Archer. But every time that Devon Archer was aware of, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden never talked business. It was all pleasantries. It was the weather. It was catching up on family things. Okay, so the premise to Peter Doocy's question is factually, emphatically false, according to the man he's citing, Devon Archer. So that's why President Biden reacted the way he did. Now, that is the predicate for the conversation. So let's hear what Fox News or the Fox Propaganda Network has to say on the matter.
Jessica, is it really a lousy question? I mean, this is making headlines. Other networks now, NBC, other networks are covering the fact that this is happening. Why not just take the question?
Well, he did take the question, and he addressed it.
Why insult the reporter?
Listen,
By the way, that question right there. Well, why insult the reporter? Okay, he didn't insult the reporter per se. He said that the question was lousy. And by the way, if we're going to talk about insulting reporters, Donald Trump is objectively far worse than Joe Biden ever is. And that's the point. Like, They want to set this weird ethical standard where Democrats and Joe Biden have to be saints of infinite patience with journalists and reporters. But Donald Trump and other Republicans, Ron DeSantis included, can call reporters the enemy of the press or the enemy of the people multiple times, suggest that they be jailed or beaten up. That's okay, according to the Fox propaganda network. But Joe Biden saying the fact that a question is lousy because it was premised on a lie, that's breaking civility politics. And this, again, for those of you watching, reject that. Anytime someone makes that point, you hit them with Donald Trump. Be like, listen, no, I reject the premise. And by the way, if we are going to grade, if civility politics is important, then Donald Trump is still worse than Joe Biden. You lose. Republicans always lose when it comes to an objective evaluation of policy and ethics and morality. Donald Trump is factually inferior in all ways to Joe Biden. So make sure you point that out to them and make them answer the question. But let's continue.
Doocy had to be waved over, and he had to be allowed to come over there. There was Secret Service. So he welcomed him into that exchange. And if the president wants to say that it's a lousy question, then that's his prerogative to do it. At least he let Peter Doocy ask the question in the first place. And frankly, the president is right to say that he didn't have anything to do with it, because that's exactly what Devon Archer's testimony confirmed. I honestly can't believe it. We were talking about it on the 5 yesterday. Let me speak.
Hold on. Devon Archer said he wasn't on the phone calls. For instance, the Dubai call, he walked out of the room during the call.
So Kayleigh McEnany, who was Trump's former press secretary, is making the claim, well, Devon Archer wasn't a witness to all of the phone calls, to every phone call between Hunter and Joe Biden. Okay. But that's your burden to prove. You're making the claim. Republicans are making the claim that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden talked shop, talked business. Devon Archer, your witness, the Republican witness, says all of the phone calls I was privy to, that never happened. So what they're saying is, okay, Devon Archer has never said that literally every phone call, including the ones he was never part of, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden never talked business. It's the absence of evidence. They're basically saying, see, the absence of evidence is proof. No, it's not. That is McEnany's claim to prove. That's James Comer's claim to prove. It's the Republican Party's claim to prove. You need to have a witness who was there for those phone calls to say under oath, or to provide evidence under oath, that Joe and Hunter Biden did talk business. So again, Tarlov is right, McEnany is wrong. So sorry.
Okay. So there's more that Devon Archer said. Like, he wasn't aware of any wrongdoing by the president.
He's not an attorney.
Just
right there. That's another one right there. I don't know if you heard Harris Faulkner there. When Jessica Tarlov points out, and again, this is verbatim in the transcript, when Devon Archer says, yeah, as far as I know, there was no wrongdoing by Hunter Biden, or excuse me, by Joe Biden. Or I think even Hunter Biden, he says it too. Harris Faulkner says, well, he's not an attorney. Well, yeah, you knew that when you asked him the damn question. Republicans knew that when they were trying to get answers. Did you see any misconduct or any misdeeds or inappropriate behavior? And when Devon Archer says no, they're like, well, what do you know? Well, you asked him in the first place. You brought him there to answer those questions. You just don't like his answer. So let's imagine a counterfactual. Let's imagine a world in which Devon Archer said, yeah, actually, I did see inappropriate behavior. I did think it was inappropriate. Could Democrats have said, well, you're not an attorney. What do you know what's appropriate and inappropriate? Harris Faulkner would never have accepted that answer. Once again, proving that they're ethically inconsistent. They don't care. They just want to nail Joe Biden. Let's continue.
I'll just put that out there. He's not. And we don't know all of what happened on that call.
Devon Archer either matters or he doesn't. And it was billed as bombshell testimony. I'm here to tell you why it wasn't a bombshell. So again, he said, not aware of any wrongdoing by the president. That 1023 form that Republicans like Jim Comer and everyone love to wave around, he says it wasn't any evidence of wrongdoing on the part of President Biden, that it wasn't evidence of a bribe. He knows nothing of the, quote, $5 million that the Burisma board allegedly gave to Joe Biden.
Before we go on to that, and again, this is important, that 1023 form that Republicans were hanging their hats on but now never talk about, that was the person who allegedly claimed that he bribed Joe and Hunter Biden was Mykola Zlochevsky, the CEO of Burisma. Devon Archer knew that man, served with him on Burisma's board. Hunter Biden and Devon Archer were contacts, had a business relationship with Mykola Zlochevsky because all of them were on the board of the Burisma Energy Company. So Devon Archer probably would know, like, hey, I saw their finances. I had a relationship with Mykola Zlochevsky. I know I had a relationship with Hunter Biden. I had a relationship with Joe Biden because he's the father of a close friend of mine. And even he says, yeah, this is ridiculous to me. I have no evidence to corroborate this, and I would be shocked if it was true. This doesn't sound like evidence to me.
also talked about what happened with Viktor Shokin, the Ukrainian prosecutor being fired by Joe Biden and the rest of the international community. He said that Viktor Shokin was good for Burisma, that he wasn't investigating corruption there. Every piece of evidence, so-called evidence, that the Republicans have has utterly fallen apart, which is why Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson have admitted on our air multiple times that they don't, quote, have it yet. And I would encourage everyone to watch Steve Doocy this morning talking about it on the Fox and Friends couch, where he's pushing and he's saying, tell me what the crime is, what law has been broken.
Well, we all have been asking that. We've all wanted
that's
to
not
see
true.
No, well, I have been. I've wanted to see the evidence. I've asked James Comer, the chairman of Oversight, myself.
The net effect of this is going to be electoral disaster for Republicans.
Here's my question.
Let's move on.
So there you go, folks. And I mean, it goes on for like another 5 minutes or so. But again, where she's Optimus Prime in the second Transformers movie. I'll take you on, or Neo in the Matrix fighting multiple agents in the second Matrix movie. That's Jessica Tarlov, folks. She is amazing at what she does. And the amount, I think so many people don't appreciate the position she's in. I probably don't fully appreciate it. I've been in a gazillion debates, but it is something when you're outnumbered. Even if you're better prepared on the facts, you are literally, you have to exude twice the effort when you're up against just two people who have differing views from you. You're outnumbered 2-1. It's twice the effort. You have to be twice as good. And then when you're outnumbered 4-1 on Fox News, knowing, because even though there's not a live audience there, she knows what all the Fox News viewers are saying in the YouTube comments section or on social media. She knows she's despised by their audience and probably by a great many of the producers and the writers and the on-air staff. And yet she walks into the lion's den every time, and every time she comes out with a new fur coat.